India, which remains a victim of cross-border terrorism, has time and again raised this issue on international platforms. In a virtual meet of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, India lambasted on Pakistan for using terrorism as an instrument of state policy. The threat posed by Pakistan-sponsored terrorism has created uncertainty in South Asia. We have a report.
Despite facing international pressure to dismantle terror infrastructure and stop financing the terror groups, Pakistan continues to use Islamic terrorists as its proxies against its neighbors, India and Afghanistan. From time and again, New Delhi has exposed Islamabad for its constant support to dreaded terror outfits operating from its soil. In an address at the virtual meet of the Council of Heads of Government of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Indian Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu particularly mentioned about cross-border terrorism and called for combating the menace under a collective approach. Though the Vice President did not name Pakistan in his remarks during the meeting, the reference was amply clear.
Peace is the essential prerequisite for progress, and the most important challenge faced by us in the region is terrorism, particularly cross-border terrorism. Terrorism is truly the enemy of humanity. It is a scourge we need to collectively combat. India condemns terrorism in all its manifestations. We remain concerned about threats emerging from ungoverned spaces and are particularly concerned about states that leverage terrorism as an instrument of state policy.
Pakistan has been using terrorist groups to change the status quo in Jammu and Kashmir. But every time, counter-terrorism actions by Indian Army like Operation All Out have made such plots unsuccessful. Recently, Indian intelligence agencies have alerted security forces to stay alert to the threat of drones capable of carrying loads being used to bomb targets close to the border. Pakistan's ISI, inspired by the success of using cheap drones to carry out small bomb attacks, has been exploring this option for terrorist groups. Indian Army Chief General M.M. Naravne has stated that there are terrorist launch pads across the line of control, and the terrorists are making last-ditch attempts to infiltrate into the valley before snowfall blocks points of entry into India and foils their plans.
There are terror launch pads and terrorists across the line of control. They are making desperate attempts to infiltrate into the union territory of J&K and try to create as much trouble as possible and to disrupt the normal democratic processes that we cherish. With the onset of the winters, last-ditch attempts are being made to infiltrate before the passes close, and the levels of snow make it almost impossible to cross over. And it is also because of this that they have started moving southwards and are now attempting to infiltrate through the lower reaches, including through tunnels across the international border.
India has urged international communities several times to isolate Pakistan for sponsoring terrorism. Not long ago, an European think tank, the European Foundation for South Asian Studies, also accused Pakistan of backing terrorism. It said that the international community's failure to nail Pakistan for 2008 Mumbai terror attacks even after the 12 years is highly unacceptable. Pakistan knows clearly that except for a few of its cronies, the world cannot afford to ignore its state sponsoring terrorism for long. While the world is battling the COVID-19 pandemic, it is unfortunate that instead of introspecting, Pakistan is using every opportunity to promote terrorism and creating uncertainty in the region.